Five-star edge Elijah Rushing did not make us wait long. After decommitting earlier this month, the top 15 player is headed to Big Ten country. Hear from Rushing on why he changed his mind on the hometown school and opted for Oregon. Plus, the Jayhawks are rock-chalking and rolling after a historic win over Oklahoma. How does that success translate to the trail? We head straight to the source to find out. And we're bringing back fits for big commits to find out if recent decisions were good decisions. All that and more as the college football recruiting show starts right now. Alongside Blair Angulo, I'm Emily Proud. Start submitting your questions, comments, concerns in the chat. The only way you can access it is by subscribing to the 24/7 Sports YouTube channel. Also, please hit that like button so we know that you're watching. Well, Iowa offensive coordinator Brian Ferentz will not return next year. Interim athletic director Beth Getz is the one terminating his contract at the end of the season. Blair, there's so many threads to pull on with this story, but how does this news affect Iowa's number 33 class in 2024 and beyond?
From a recruiting perspective, I think this helps the Hawkeyes because it alleviates some of the concerns that recruits, their coaches, their family members might have about the direction of that offense and of that program as a whole. It's kind of been a cloud that's been hanging over the program. Now, offensive recruits can look at that as a fresh start, and it could ultimately help Iowa.
Yeah, Iowa now promising change at the offensive coordinator position. It does help that they do that now, so they're able to keep together this class of 2024, but we'll continue to see what happens there. Let's hit some headlines. We got a big shakeup for the class of 2024 quarterbacks. Elite 11 finalist Trevor Jackson has backed off his commitment to Ole Miss. The 29th ranked quarterback pledged to the Rebels in late August, but now that he's back on the market, who are some potential suitors, Blair?
It's tough to say right now, Emily. It's late in the recruiting cycle, but there are always some schools looking for quarterbacks. So Trevor Jackson, who was an Elite 11 finalist, is now going to be one of those top available players at the position. I think several programs will take a closer look at his situation in the coming weeks.
Jumping to 2026, that's where the top-ranked corner in the class, Brandon Lockhart, committed to USC on Sunday. When you know, you know. It's pretty early. He is currently the 16th ranked prospect in the class. He is a sophomore, but Blair, what makes him such a special prospect early on in his recruitment?
It's his physical traits, particularly his length. It's something that makes him stand out above his peers in the 2026 class. A rangy, instinctual corner who really just eliminates passing windows with his reach. He's a terrific pickup for USC early on in the cycle.
All right, let's go back to the here and now in the 2024 cycle. Four-star safety Reggie Powers committing to Oklahoma on Saturday. The Dayton, Ohio product is a top 247 player who brings what to the Sooners secondary?
Physicality, aggression, toughness. Reggie Powers not only has a great name, but he's also got great game, Emily. He's a versatile athlete with a basketball background, and he'll fit in very nicely in Brent Venables' defense heading into the SEC.
We got more on Powers in a bit with Cooper Petagna, but speaking of great names, the biggest news of the day, the top uncommitted player in 2024 is uncommitted no more. Five-star edge Elijah Rushing announcing his commitment to Oregon. Now this after decommitting from Arizona earlier this month. Rushing is the Ducks' first five-star in the class, yet they still have the number 6 class in the nation. And Blair, you were actually privy to Rushing's decision after speaking with him on Friday night, and he told you why he chose Oregon. Here's what he had to say.
I just say just assessing, just like the defensive expertise and Coach Lanning and Coach McCoy, just both good coaches, and they bring that fire to the team. And you can see it. You can see it on TV. Coach Lanning getting there, firing up their defense on fourth down. So it's just something that defensive players that's what you look for. He's like a player's coach. You can see it with everyone in the locker room. You can just see how the guys carry themselves, and you can see it on when you watch the games from TV or you're there. They're always it's a brotherhood. You get the right pieces, you can do anything. Especially if the coaches behind it, you can do anything. You just getting getting the right people. So I think that they're doing that, we're doing that, and it's going to end up going in the right place. Let's go Ducks.
Let's go Ducks. All right, Oregon has really long been the team to beat, even when he originally committed to the Wildcats. But now he's officially saying that he does want to be a Duck. So, Blair, how did Oregon ultimately win out for the now crown jewel of their 24 class?
It was persistence from Coach Dan Lanning, Coach Tosh Lupoy, and the rest of that coaching staff in Eugene. Tosh Lupoy was actually in Tucson to see Elijah Rushing in person the weekend before he decommitted. So I think those coaches have been in some heavyweight battles, and I think that experience really paid off here. A lot of credit should go to the Ducks for staying on Rushing throughout, reminding him about their defensive scheme and how he fits into their future plans. This was a difficult choice for Elijah Rushing. A big five-star prospect never wants to feel like he's turning his back on his hometown team. That's what was happening there with Arizona committing over the summer, and it was a tough decision for him to back off that decommitment. But ultimately, I think the opportunity to go play for Dan Lanning in that defense and play and make a difference for the Oregon Ducks, which has national title aspirations heading into the Big Ten, I think was just too much to turn down for the five-star from Tucson.
We always talk about proof of concept. It's not just the team having success. Dan Lanning himself as a defensive coordinator, even going back to Georgia, just looking at the guys he put in the league, that makes the sell pretty easy. Blair, you have been all over this, but it's a team effort here at 24/7 Sports. So let's bring in our director of recruiting, Steve Wiltfong, for the Wiltfong Whip Around. And Steve, Elijah Rushing picking Dan Lanning and the Ducks. How big an addition is he to this top 10 class?
Well, massive. This is a program that's moving to the Big Ten, and they need to get the player type that's ready to play in that league. And Elijah Rushing, 6'6", 251 pounds, checks those boxes physically with massive upside and potential. And this is a class that's built on defense, because you look at what Oregon has on the defensive side of the ball as they try and make a run to the college football playoff. They're going to lose a lot of these guys, particularly on the defensive line. So they're going to need players like Elijah Rushing, Aiden Breland, and Kamar Mathudi, Kingston Lopa, those linebackers to come in and make an impact right away, because there's going to be major opportunity. But this recruiting win, more than anything, just shows the relentless approach that Lanning and company have on the recruiting trail. It's a staff full of great recruiters with terrific pedigree, guys that know how important it is to pound the pavement on the trail, but equally important, equal hand in player development and scheme. And Will Stein, maybe the best coordinator hire in the country last year, replacing Kenny Dillingham on the offensive side, number 2 offense in the country, and then Tosh Lupoy, the defensive coordinator, and his championship pedigree. It's just the perfect combination of recruiters and coaches in Oregon right now. And now they go out and try and close the last five-star, Emily and Blair, Jordan Seaton, among others, as they push for a top 5 recruiting class.
A resonating victory on the recruiting trail, and obviously they are trying to continue to add some dazzling moves as we make that charge towards the early signing period. Steve, let's stay on the West Coast and talk about Carson Gordon. He's a player that decommitted from UNLV this morning, and you have logged a crystal ball prediction for UCLA for the 3-star quarterback from the state of Texas. He was on campus this past weekend, made it out to the Rose Bowl to check out the Bruins against Colorado. How do you feel about the Bruins' chances to get him in the fold for this 2024 class?
Yeah, after talking to him on Saturday night, loved UCLA's position here. He said it was amazing. You know, he said besides the obvious things about UCLA with the great academics, number 1 pub school in the country, he feels like the offense fits him. Talks about his game similarities to Dorian Thompson-Robinson and how UCLA maximized his skill set. He talked about his potential future, the connections that he can make at UCLA, the alumni, the ex-player network. Said it'd be great to be part of. I think he ultimately will be. So talking to him after that visit on Saturday, it was looking great for UCLA and continues to trend that way here on Monday.
All right, well, look out for the spatula. The Bruins also had several other top 247 targets from the 2025 class in LA this weekend, including 2 4-star quarterbacks in George McIntyre and Hassan Longstreet, also tackle Zaire Addison. So where does UCLA stand with those prospects?
Well, George McIntyre told me the visit went great. He really likes the staff out in Westwood. He said that Coach Kelly's been doing a tremendous job with quarterbacks for a while, and he said that UCLA has the nicest campus he's been on. and he thinks they'll be a Big Ten contender in the coming years. And they're trying to battle Alabama, LSU, and Tennessee for him. But I think that they made a statement on this visit, and we'll see what happens as he continues through his process. Hussam Longstreet's a top 247 quarterback from right down the road that said it's always good watching UCLA play, called them his home team, said he's always comfortable when he visits. He likes the scheme, the way they attack defenses. He thinks he can learn a lot there, and he thinks that it's a place that can prepare him on and off the field. So UCLA definitely near the top of the list for him. They also had top 247 offensive lineman Zayari Addison on campus from the Sunshine State, Riverview, Florida product. UCLA has offered him early, and he was excited to be out there. You know, he talked about the atmosphere being great. He loved the way the offensive line dominated around the line of scrimmage. He's really built up a rapport with Coach Drebno over there, and he enjoyed his time with Coach Kelly. Said he met a lot of cool people at the game, said that UCLA has good vibes. This is a program that's really starting to build momentum. Flipped Dante Moore late last year, in the mix for some big-time guys in 2024, and then off and running in 2025.
A nice weekend for the Bruins as they beat Coach Prime and the Buffaloes out in Pasadena. Another school that had a really nice weekend was LSU, Steve. Weston Davis, the top 24/7 offensive lineman, flipped from A&M, and obviously he had a change of heart, but how does this huge flip impact the Tigers moving forward?
Well, the staple of any Brian Kelly team is what they do on the offensive line. And since he's been in Baton Rouge, they've recruited this position at a high level. You know, look at that 2022, that special class that they put together in the 2022 cycle, highlighted by Emory Jones and Will Campbell. Those guys are already making an impact in the starting lineup for LSU. This 2023 class they signed was among the best at the – and then in 2024, it's another big group. And Weston Davis is the best of the bunch. They're going to have to battle to keep him in the fold. A&M still trying to stay afloat in that one, guys. That's going to be a fun rivalry game on November 25th. LSU versus A&M on the recruiting trail always has a lot of activity. In LSU, they're trying to flip a few more guys from the Aggies. You got five-star athlete Terry Bussey, who was there for the win over Auburn. Gabe Relaford, who was also there for the win over Auburn. Draylon Miller recently decommitted from A&M. There's a lot of LSU vibes there as well. And as LSU also tries to close JUCO defensive lineman Sean Washington and maybe flip Missouri defensive end commit Jalen Brown, this is another program that has a chance to finish with a top 5 class. And that's where we're used to seeing LSU, guys. LSU also all in on Bryce Underwood this past week. His decision date's locked in for January 6th. Quarterbacks coach Joe Sloan was out to see him play on Friday.
We have more on Weston Davis with Cooper Petagna a little bit later on in the show. I got one more question for you, Steve, but first, you know what I got to ask. Hit that like button. Looks like the Steve Wiltfong thumbs up. Less than a fourth of you have hit the like button so far. We can get those numbers up. On Thursday, Nebraska lost one of its prospects from the 2024 class, 3-star running back Kawan Lacey. So now that he is on the market, Steve, what's the latest in his recruitment?
Well, that was a prospect that Matt Rule and company really coveted, you know, a running back that can really fly, 10.5 speed in the 100-meter dash. Florida's certainly a school to watch. They offered him a scholarship on October 5th. Talking to sources with knowledge of the recruitment, there's a lot of intrigue with the Gators right now. Florida is the number 3 class in the country right now. Kawan Lacey would be another nice addition. Alabama. They recently sent Coach Gillespie out there to watch him play. He's expected in Tuscaloosa this weekend for what's going to be a major recruiting weekend for Alabama as LSU comes to town. But the school that's been in it the longest is Ole Miss. They offered him back in January. He's been to campus a couple times, already took his official visit, has a really good relationship with Kevin Smith. Ole Miss's offense is exciting to a player like Kawan Lacey. So I think the Rebels are one to watch. But not all bad news for Nebraska right now, guys. They hosted their top target over the weekend, Grant Bricks. They're in the middle of that one as they battle Oklahoma. He's supposed to visit Oklahoma in a couple weeks for West Virginia. So Nebraska trying to finish strong as well, and these other programs trying to finish strong with Kawan Lacey.
All right, we'll keep an eye on him. Steve, appreciate your work. Be sure to check out 247sports.com for unrivaled coverage of college football and recruiting. We have the best coverage of your favorite team, so make sure you are locked in to 247sports.com. When you wake up Monday with a goalpost at the bottom of a pond, you know that it has been an epic weekend. And that was the case for Kansas as they take down Oklahoma, ending a 26-year drought. The win was so massive that it somewhat overshadowed the fact that Kansas is bowl eligible in back-to-back seasons for only the second time in school history. So yeah, to say things are good in Lawrence would certainly be putting it mildly, which is why that is where we are headed to welcome in our friend Michael Swain from fog.net. Michael, first top 10 victory at home since 1984. I could continue to just rattle off these stats all day, but that's why you're here. How much does this win mean to the Kansas football program?
It's huge. I think you look at what Lance Leipold has done rebuilding this program. They can now go toe-to-toe with teams like Oklahoma. You look in the trenches, and KU did not look out of place, and that is exactly the place where KU's been dominated in this game for so long. And to couple two things, where you get a huge win over such a highly ranked team like Oklahoma, breaking the long losing streak, while also getting bowl eligibility and having back-to-back bowl seasons for just the second time in program history. Lance Leipold's talked a lot about wanting to build a consistent winner at Kansas, and this win shows that KU can be much more than that. They can compete with the top guys in college football. May not win every time, but be in the game, and that's what you can ask for, and over time they will win some of those games. So you look ahead to the new Big 12, and what would this landscape look like? I think KU, if they continue to recruit at a high level, can be in a place where they can compete for championships, which is what Lance Leipold said the goal was when he took the job back in 2021.
Yeah, the arrow is certainly pointing up for that program, and I think that's all recruits really want to know, right? Whether they're sitting into or they're going into a situation that could ultimately help showcase them. One of those players that was there, big name tight end 2025 class, a 4-star Lincoln Cure. Where are the Jayhawks now with him after this visit this past weekend?
Yeah, they've made him a huge priority. You know, during the bye week, Lance Leipold took the jet out to Goodland, Kansas, which is a lot closer to Colorado than it is to Lawrence, to go check in on Lincoln and how things are going. The KU staff is going all out in their pursuit of him right now. They've got multiple coaches texting him, multiple coaches talking to him, and this was his first game day visit. He was in Lawrence back over the summer. He participated in a camp. They love what they saw from him, and they've really ramped up that the contact with him since August began. And this was his first time seeing KU, and he told Steve Wiltfong, and we've got an interview set up later tonight, that, hey, he's someone that really enjoyed it. And so it's all about making a strong impression. And for someone that's a tight end, you look at the game that Mason Fairchild had, Trevor Cardell, a tight end for Kansas, was wide open all throughout the course of the game. I think KU showed someone like Lincoln Cure that if you pick Kansas, you'll be put in a position to have success and be able to play on a big stage like that.
Wow, his first visit. It's always like that there, right? Let's go to the in-state 4-star tackle, Andrew Babalola. He was also in attendance, and it's always important to keep talent home. So what's your read on his recruitment coming out of Saturday?
Yeah, this one's fascinating because if you look at his offer list, right, he's got opportunities from across the country. Miami was an early offer. Michigan has come in this fall and offered him. And this is another guy that the Kansas staff is putting a lot of capital into, right? Coaches are talking to him. They sent Andy Kotelnicki, the offensive coordinator, out to evaluate him and one of his teammates at a game earlier this year. KU is putting a lot of resources into these local recruits, and Babalola, unlike Lincoln Cure, has been on campus countless times. I think this was maybe his third game that he's been to this season, and so he's been able to see, I think, over the course of the year, the consistent increased fan support that you're seeing around the KU program, which is a huge deal to this coaching staff. So KU's putting in a lot of work early. We'll see how things progress. One thing to watch with Andrew is academics are huge with him. His parents are both in the medical field. Kansas, of course, KU Med is really a well-known institution in the medical field, so that could be something that helps Kansas in the long run.
Michael, top 24/7 edge Deshaun Warner from the state of Arizona is one of the top commits in that recruiting class right now. He chose the Jayhawks over places like Washington and Texas when he took official visits back in the summer. He surprised a lot of people by choosing Kansas. Now the likes of Michigan and Ohio State are also trying to flip him as we make that dash towards the signing period. What's the latest on the top-rated commit right now as the Kansas Jayhawks try to keep him in the 2024 class?
Yeah, KU's holding on, and this is a guy that I think if you're going to tab who this win is the biggest for, it's keeping Deshaun Warner in this class. He's got Michigan and Ohio State both coming in to try and flip him. And this is a guy that Kansas evaluated early. You go back to January, defensive backs coach Jordan Peterson was down in Arizona and fell in love with Deshaun Warner and two of the other teammates who are also committed to Kansas, and Andre Gibson and Jonathan Kamara. So you've got three guys from the same high school, all committed to play at Kansas right now, and Gibson and Warner are actually cousins. So there's some family relationships at play here too. So right now, KU's doing its best to continue to show Warner that if you go to Kansas, you can be put in a position to have a lot of success. You look at guys like Austin Booker, Jeremy Robinson, two of the most productive defensive ends in the Big 12. Hey, you come here, you can have production like that. You can also play on big stages. And look, with the new landscape of the college football playoff, if you win big games in the Big 12, there's a chance you can play in the playoffs. So KU's doing its best to continue to show him that the arrow is trending in the right direction. They've got those long-lasting, meaningful relationships with the player, and hopefully they'll be able to hold on throughout the end. That's their hope, at least.
That is certainly their hope. A lot of excitement in Lawrence right now, Michael. Thank you so much for being here to break it all down. You can check out more of his work at fog.net. I know my Jayhawk fans are looking forward to basketball season. There's great coverage of that too. But your football team is doing historic things right now, so check it out at fog.net.
And now it's time for Fits for Big Commits.
That's right. We are bringing back a fan favorite segment with a fan favorite analyst, Cooper Petagna, here for Fits for Big Commits. And we're going to start with the news of the day. Elijah rushing to Oregon, and a defensive line class looking pretty good. Could continue to get even better. But how do you like the fit for this big commit?
I love it. I think you start with player development, right? Dan Lanning and then Tosh Lupoy, the job that they've done. You go back to Dan Lanning at Georgia, Tosh Lupoy at Alabama. They put a lot of guys in the league, and you look at Oregon, what they've done, right? Now you add Elijah Rushing, Aiden Brilliant. Those two guys, the highest ranked profile in terms of West Coast prospects in the country, and they're both front seven defenders. So I love this fit for Elijah Rushing. He's just a puppy too, 6'5" and change, and I think a guy is going to grow a lot at the next level. We don't know what he's going to be yet. He can play off the edge. You can potentially play him inside as well. Had double-digit sacks as a junior. Has continued to play well this year. So upward trajectory. You haven't seen a lot of teams build the defensive line and the point of attack on the defensive end like Oregon has done it over the last 2 years. Up arrow for that program. And guess what? They're building for the Big Ten, but they're also building nationally. 12-team playoff coming in 2024. I think Oregon is going to be a team that's going to be locked in that top 12 for years to come.
Before we get to the next guy, I see 6'6". I don't think puppy. What do you mean by that?
A puppy, it means he's got a lot of room to grow, right? This is a guy with a 6'8" wingspan in terms of growth potential. There's a lot of developmental upside there. So, yeah, in terms of the body coordination, you turn on the tape a little bit, he's still kind of getting used to that frame, playing at 250 pounds plus. He's probably going to play at 275 pounds plus at the next level. So there's a lot of development physically, technically, for Elijah Rushing at the next level, and that strength conditioning program in Eugene, and especially being under Dan Lanning, Tosh Lupoy, great fit for him.
I gotcha. So he's got the body frame, just doesn't know quite how to use it yet.
Still learning.
As a former owner of a puppy, I understand that quite well. Four-star corner Reggie Powers, he has been just shooting up our rankings firmly inside the top 247 now. He's going to be a Sooner. So how do you like the fit in Brent Venables' defense?
I like it a lot. Brent Venables is a guy who has a lot of experience with very versatile defenders. Blair Angulo mentioned that earlier in the show. And you see Reggie Powers, 6'1", 200 pounds. He had 80 tackles as a junior. The closer he plays to the line of scrimmage, the more you feel his presence. This is a guy loves to trigger, loves to play down the hill, very physical at the point of attack, and very strong in run support. So he's really kind of that type of player, more of a hybrid overhang safety. I could see him maybe growing into a weak side linebacker as well. But one of those guys, if he doesn't play on the field early defensively, he's going to be really hard to keep off the field in terms of special teams as well. But a really good football player. Oklahoma, they got to get better against the pass right now, 86 in the country. Last 2 years, the way that they've recruited 2 top 10 recruiting classes, Reggie Powers certainly helps that as well.
Yeah, Reggie Powers currently listed as a safety, but as you said, it's anybody's guess what he could turn into at the next level. Weston Davis, he has taken his talents to Baton Rouge. The tackle is providing the Tigers with some much-needed help on the offensive line, but how do you like the fit for this big commit?
I like this one too. I like all three of these, 6'5", 275 pounds, and this is a class that is really light on tackle body. So LSU to be able to get this one done in the state of Texas, flip Weston Davis from a divisional opponent, that's a huge deal. And this is a guy that has a 7-foot wingspan, 36-inch arms, so he is super long. basketball background, still rounding out into form. And then you add in guys like Zalance Hurd, who's played a lot as a freshman, the former 5-star in the 2023 cycle, Will Campbell, Emory Jones. The future of that offensive line under Brian Kelly, offensive line coach Brad Davis, in great shape. I think they're going to have one of the best units in the country next year. They're building on that right now as well.
7-foot wingspan. Good luck, defensive lineman, up against him. My goodness, Cooper, thanks so much for being here. You can check out more of his work, everyone's favorite podcast. Make sure you are listening to him and Andrew Ivins on the 24/7 Sports Football Recruiting Podcast. New episodes drop every Tuesday and Wednesday. You can watch at 5 o'clock Eastern on the 24/7 Sports YouTube channel or listen wherever you get your podcasts. It's time now to check out the top 5 plays of the weekend in high school football as powered by Max Preps.
Alrighty, your top 5 plays powered by Max Preps. Turn up the volume on this one.
2nd and 11. Lagway. Gonna roll to his right to buy time. Gonna launch it deep. He's got a man. Are you kidding me? Touchdown, Jalen Mickens. DJ Lagway has done it again.
The 5-star Florida commit throwing a bomb, jumping. He threw for 383 and ran for 220 and 3 scores. Sticking in Texas, Westwood High School, Damani Stewart. How does he stay on his feet? Does he get in? He does. He rushed for 217 and 2 TDs during a 28-21 win. Speaking of win, Riverdale, they went for 2 and the win. Braden Graham to Braylon Vanderbilt, who somehow makes the unbelievable catch. 25-24 win. They beat Oakland, snapped the 12-game losing skid against Oakland. What a win, 25-24 in the state of Tennessee. Dozie Izukanma, 3-star Oklahoma commit, had himself an unreal night. 13 catches for 243, 2 TDs. Let's see this again as he backpedals, stiff arms, spins, and heads into the end zone. Unbelievable right there. We may have the catch of the year at play number 1. Nick Keene, Wisconsin, Hamilton High. Oh my gosh, what an unreal catch. His team went on to win 30-28. They now advance to the quarterfinals in Division 1. This view right here is something special. That's play number 1 this week on Max Preps Top 5.
Whew, what a play. Thank you to our friend Steve Montoya of Max Preps. Check them out for all things high school football. They've got rosters, stats, intel, everything you need. You can find it all at maxpreps.com.
This guy is a blur on tape. He zigs and zags.
He's a player to potentially make an impact from day one.
It's Monday, which means our recruit of the weekend is Texas Tech quarterback commit Will Hammond. He is the 14th ranked quarterback in the class of 2024 out of Hutto, Texas. Now, he accounted, get this, for 674 total yards and 8 touchdowns in a shootout victory over Bryan. And Blair, they needed every bit of that production. The final score in this one was 66-63.
He has been a part of some wild scores this season. He's averaging over 16 yards per completion, nearly 400 yards per game, 32 touchdowns through those 9 games. And if I'm a Texas Tech fan, I'm super excited because he has shown that he can distribute the football. And then you have a receiver like Micah Hudson, the 5-star prospect, also coming in this class. I'm preparing for that Hammond to Hudson combo heading into college. So congratulations to Will Hammond. He is the recruit of the weekend.
It just sounds right. That is a very impressive production from him. Okay, Blair, we got a viewer question here from Terrence. He wants to know, how much does it matter if Colorado makes a bowl game this year to help recruiting for 2025?
I don't think it matters at all because they've already shown that they've taken the necessary steps as a program, and their trajectory is pointing up. I think Coach Deion Sanders has done a terrific job of turning the conversation into the transfer portal and being able to add talent to actually showing that, hey, they're close on the field. They've won some games clearly, but they've also lost some games in a very close manner. So I think they're very close to being able to completely turn that program around. And I don't know if it matters if you make a bowl game. No one's really playing in those anymore anyway. A lot of guys are sitting out the bowl game. So there's not a lot of credence or a lot of, I think, weight that carries with that. But I think recruits just want to see that a program has taken those necessary steps. And I think Colorado has. And I think they've shown recruits enough.
How many wins did they have last year, Colorado?
I think just one, right?
Just one
yeah.
win. So I would constitute that as improvement so far. Okay, we've got another question here from Darian. He asked, true or false, Stanford finishes with the 2024 cycle as a top 25 class?
I'm going to go with the true, and I think that's because they're going to be able to hang on to their commitments. I have faith that this program recruits beyond what's just happening on the field, right? They haven't had the best success. They were nearly on upset alert there this past weekend with Washington coming into town. So similarly to what we've seen from Colorado, Troy Taylor and that staff in Palo Alto has also shown that this program could be close to turning the tide and turning the conversation. They are number 26, I believe, right now in the composite team recruiting rankings. So that just puts them one spot away from, being in that top 25. I think when recruits look at that program, they're committing more so than maybe with other programs on things beyond just the record and the on-field results. And so none of that is changing with Stanford. And I think they've shown enough, just like Colorado has, that this is an attractive destination for recruits. And I could see them making the charge to 25. So give me Stanford to finish in the top 25.
Okay, you said it. One spot out at 26. They have 26 total recruits, too. So this is a big class for Stanford in Troy Taylor's first year. So interested to see what happens there. Speaking of, a guy named Troy wants to know. He's a Clemson fan, and he's worried about Sammy Brown. Should he be?
Well, this is spatula season, as our colleague Steve Wiltfong likes to call it, and never say never with a player like Sammy Brown, who I'm sure is continuing to field phone calls, and coaches are still trying to recruit him. Only took a couple official visits, Clemson and Tennessee. That leaves a number of other destinations possible for him if he does decide to continue to look around. And, I think you obviously have to look at him and what Clemson has done on the field, coming up short. Maybe some of the shortcomings could be opening the lane for other schools. We haven't heard anything concrete. We haven't heard that Sammy Brown is intending to open things up, but I'm also not saying, not to look away, because this is a player who is going to be an attractive prospect that everyone's going to try to be flipping here as we make that charge towards the early signing period in December.
Yeah, he is number one on Ivan's freak list for a reason. He is an incredible athlete. So I would caution you, Troy, to just be patient, but also, 8 weeks until National Signing Day? So just expect the unexpected. Be ready for anything. Andrew would like to know, another true or false question. I like these. Oregon can crack 300 points in the 2024 recruiting class. We don't talk a lot about points, but that's a lot of them.
Yeah, they are hitting on a lot of their targets, and I think that's been the most impressive thing about Oregon. We don't talk a lot about misses with them, and that's because they've been very selective. They've been able to really attack the positions that they need, and I think they have a good understanding of where they sit with recruits. They're not a school that is going to be in a lot of battles, but they are very selective with the battles that they're in, whether that's in the Southeast, down in Texas, out west in California. They have the two best players in the state of California, and they both happen to be defensive linemen, and Aiden Breland and Elijah Rushing. So when you think about them trying to build towards what's to come in the Big Ten, they're knocking it out of the park. And if they do crack the 300, it'd be a really impressive feat for them, and it could continue to happen, especially if they make a charge towards the college football playoff.
Yeah, only two teams right now have cracked the 300, so that would be very impressive. Okay, real quick, Rob wants to know, I love this, Halloween's tomorrow, so if Halloween candy were the college football playoff, who would make it, and who's coming out with the title? What do you think?
Okay, we're going. The one seed is Reese's Pieces. They're gonna face I don't know. Candy corn, I think, is the 4 seed. That's very
Okay.
Halloweenish to me. I think a little box of M&Ms is probably up there. And then give me a Reese's Cup as a 3 seed. And I'm going to give it to Reese's Pieces. I'm a sucker for those.
Okay, I'm giving Sour Patch Kids the championship. You don't need to know the other ones. I agree with it, but I'm more of a sour candy person. So that'll do it for Blair and Gulo. I'm Emily Proud, and this is the College Football Recruiting Show.